Welcome back. Now for your 5-day weather forecast, we go outside to Sandra de Grandis.
For the rest of the week, you can expect a mix and sun of cloud before your weekend. Now here's your 5-day weather forecast. Today will be sunny with a mix of cloud and a 70% chance of showers with a high of 18. This evening we'll get some cloud coverage with a low of 15. Tomorrow will also be a mix of sun and cloud with a 60% chance of showers with a high of 15 and a low of 9. Expect showers throughout the night. There will be cloudy periods and isolated showers on Friday with a low of 9 and a high of 13. There is a chance of showers on Saturday with some clouds rolling in with a high of 13 and a low of 7. On Sunday, there will be variable cloudiness with a high of 10 and a low of 5, with some scattered showers to end your weekend. And that's all for your 5-day weather forecast. Enjoy the rest of your week. Now, back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Sandra. Turning now to national and international news, the U.S. Senate has reached an agreement to raise the debt limit and reopen the government. This decision was made barely meeting their tight deadline. The Senate had until midnight tonight to find a solution. Senate has proposed to deal with the potentially deterred Treasury default and to end the 16-day government shutdown. A temporary funding bill was suggested to reopen government, and the legislation was put into place to increase borrow spending.
After the emergency evacuation of the Langevin block this morning, it appears the throne speech is going ahead as planned. The federal government will direct much of its focus to consumer issues during today's speech. The opposition is pressing Prime Minister Stephen Harper to address the Senate expense scandal, but is unlikely that he will. This will likely be the last throne speech before a 2015 federal election.
Today's throne speech is also supposed to include an announcement naming Malala Yousafzai an honorary Canadian citizen. Malala was shot in the head by Taliban on her way home from school in October last year. The 16-year-old Pakistani advocate met with Prime Minister Stephen Harper in New York last month. The two talked about her efforts to promote education for women and girls. Malala is the 6th person to receive an honorary citizenship and the youngest Nobel Peace Prize nominee. She currently lives in England with her family.
A United Nations investigator says Canada is facing a crisis when it comes to the country's Indigenous people. James Anaya, an Indigenous rights investigator, spent the last 9 days traveling around Canada. He talked to Aboriginals as well as federal and provincial government officials. Anaya says Canada has made significant progress since the last report in 2004, but there are still many challenges facing Indigenous communities in the country. Anaya presented the findings at a news conference in Ottawa late yesterday. The federal government has refused to consider an inquiry into the subject.
In Newfoundland, a body was found this morning at St. John's Cemetery and is connected to a double homicide in a neighboring town. The body was discovered several kilometers away from a strip mall in Conception Bay South, where a man and woman were shot Tuesday evening. The Royal Newfoundland Constabulary would not confirm the connection between the two homicides, but say the shootings were not a random act of violence. Police have yet to release the identities of the victims.
And now with your sports news, here's Jonathan Rumley.
Thank you, ladies. The Humber Hawks men's and women's volleyball teams were back in the gym last night. The North Campus hosted a pair of exhibition games. The men's and women's volleyball teams took on Seneca in a battle of bitter rivals. The women's team defeated Seneca 3-2, while the men's team showed no mercy against the Sting, taking the win in 3 straight sets. A total of 12 games hit the ice last night in the NHL, including a home game for the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Blue and White tamed the Minnesota Wild with a 4-1 victory at the ACC. Mason Raymond scored his 3rd and 4th goals of the season, while rookie defenseman Morgan Riley collected 2 assists in a breakout performance.
Here at the rink and at practice and in games, I'm quite comfortable. And I think with each day that goes by, I've become a bit more confident.
James Reimer was solid playing in his first game in 10 days, stopping 36 shots, including 2 breakaways in a steady stint between the pipes. In the other 11 games, the Sabres beat the Islanders in a shootout, Vancouver defeated Philly, and the Pens took down Edmonton. Chicago beat the Canes in a shootout, Tampa crushed LA, Detroit went against Columbus, and the Sharks slammed the Blues. Nashville beat Florida, Montreal shut out the Jets, Colorado defeated Dallas, and the Sens beat Phoenix in overtime. Now to the Diamond, where 4 baseball teams are fighting for 2 spots in the World Series. Last night in Detroit, the Red Sox pitching staff held the Tigers to no runs in a shutout led by John Lackey, who racked up 8 Ks in 6 2/3. Mike Napoli was the hero after belting a solo home run in the 7th off Justin Verlander to give Boston all the runs they would need to take a 2-1 series lead. In the National League, the St. Louis Cardinals continued their stellar play with a 4-2 win over the LA Dodgers. Matt Holliday had 2 hits, including a 2-run shot off Ricky Nolasco in the 3rd, and the Cardinals are now 1 win away from the World Series. Tonight's game of the night will be broadcast live from Chavez Ravine in Los Angeles as the Dodgers look to stave off elimination against the clutch-hitting Cardinals. Zach Greinke takes the hill for the Dodgers, while the Cardinals will send 25-year-old Joe Kelly to the mound. The Dodgers need to find a way to score more runs after logging only 7 in 4 games. This is a must-win game for the Dodgers. That's all for sports. I'm Jonathan Rumley. Now back to you in the studio.
Thanks, John. After the break, we'll get the latest in entertainment from Nicole Campea.
Katy Perry delivers Ariana Grande a huge compliment, and 2 major hip-hop artists walked away with a handful of BET Awards last night. I'll have all that and more after the break.